Temperature. When we talk about temperature, we usually define that as the measure of the coldness and hotness of an object or a substance. Yeah, that's basically it. Microscopically, temperature is really governed by the movements of the particles, whatever state of matter that is. If the molecules move at a slower pace and they're rigid, that's usually associated with a lower temperature. But if the molecules are having a lot of energy and they're moving very randomly with bigger spaces and they have frequent collisions, we associate that with a high temperature. So basically, when we talk about temperature, it's just the measure of the average kinetic energy of the particles that make up the substance. And when we speak about temperature of gases, there are different units that's associated with temperature. The different units that we're familiar of about temperature is usually the degree Celsius, in which our degree Celsius can be converted to Kelvin, which is symbolized as big letter K, or our degree Celsius can be converted to degrees Fahrenheit, which is just your big letter F. Remember that when we talk about Fahrenheit and Celsius, these have degree symbols, while Kelvin doesn't have. Now, it's important to know that you have to be able to know the basic of temperature conversion. That is, you need to know how to convert from one unit to another, and it has to be clear to you the formulas that you need to use. By now, because you're on the higher level of education and higher level of mental capacity, that means you should devise a way for you to remember the conversion equation so that you will get accurate results later on. Now, the thing that you need to remember, between Celsius and Fahrenheit, all the time, when we compare values of Fahrenheit and Celsius, the Fahrenheit will always have a greater value. Okay, but in terms of average kinetic energy, microscopically, they're the same value, the same measurement of the average kinetic energy. But however, the units are different. That's why the values are different. But in terms of differentiating their final values, Fahrenheit will usually always have greater numerical value compared to Celsius. That's why if you look at the formula of converting Celsius to Fahrenheit, that means, Fahrenheit to Celsius, that means Fahrenheit, the one with the greater value, should be converted to a smaller value because you want to get the Celsius unit. So it means that there's subtraction. Okay? So I'm teaching you now how to remember the equation of conversion. So going back, if my given is a Fahrenheit number and I want to get the Celsius counterpart of that. So if I am doing that particular conversion, that means I need to get a number in Celsius that's lower than my given Fahrenheit. That's why there's subtraction. So take note subtraction. Subtraction means leading to a lower value. So there's subtraction. And if there's subtraction, it should be done first. That means there's always parenthesis. Subtraction, parenthesis. What will you subtract it with? 32. So the Fahrenheit temperature given, the value of Fahrenheit minus 32. Whatever is the difference of that, you'll multiply it to 5 over 9. Now, there are just two fractions that you need to remember in temperature conversion. It's either 5 over 9 and 9 over 5. Between the two, 5 over 9 is of lower value. Because you have to get a lower value, that means you will be using the lower valued fraction, which is 5 over 9, not 9 over 5. So times 5 over 9 after subtracting your Fahrenheit given by 30 with 32. Then 5 over 9, you'll get a value smaller than your given. On the other hand, if you want to convert your Celsius to Fahrenheit, that means your given Celsius will have to be multiplied to a bigger valued fraction, and it should have addition instead of subtraction because you are getting Fahrenheit, which is of higher value. So what you do is you multiply first your Celsius given temperature to 9 over 5 fraction, and then whatever is the result there, you add to 32. Sometimes I mean usually I remember the rhyme plus is last. So plus is last, that means I need to do the 9 over 5 times degrees Celsius first, then the plus will be the last. On the other hand, in the previous equation here, if the plus is last from Celsius to Fahrenheit, therefore subtraction has to be first. On the other conversion, sorry for that. So on the other conversion, so subtraction is first before the fraction, but here it is fraction first and plus is the last. So that's for Celsius to Fahrenheit and Fahrenheit to Celsius. The last is from Celsius to Kelvin. So there's a direct conversion from Celsius to Kelvin, not from Fahrenheit to Kelvin. So if it's Celsius to Kelvin, it's just very easy to remember. You just add the value 273. And if you do the reverse, if you want to get Celsius from Kelvin, you just subtract it by 273 because you need to transpose this to the other side. So you get the Celsius unit. So basically, these are the three formulas you need to remember for temperature conversion. Again, this is important because when we deal with gas laws, particularly the other laws except for the ideal gas law, the temperature units have to be, also the ideal gas law. In all gas laws equations, the temperature unit has to be in Kelvin. So if you're given Fahrenheit, you need to convert it to Celsius first before you can convert it to Kelvin. And there are other instances in which a problem will ask you to express the final temperature answer in some units other than Kelvin. It may be Celsius or Fahrenheit. So this is a sample problem of converting the units. So a child has a body temperature of 38.7 degrees Celsius and the normal body temperature is 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a normal. And but the temperature units are different. Does the child have fever? So how do we know? And then what is the child's temperature in kelvins then? So if we have to know whether the child has fever, we have to have the same unit so we can accurately compare them. So in the case of this problem, it can either be converting your Celsius to Fahrenheit, compare it with this, or your Fahrenheit to Celsius, whichever it is, it's okay. It's correct. So in this case, we just converted our Celsius to Fahrenheit so that we compare it to the normal body temperature. If it's not normal, if it exceeds the 98.6, that means the child could have fever. So what is the formula to convert Celsius to Fahrenheit? All we need to do is choose the bigger fraction because we need to get a higher value of Fahrenheit. So we use 9 over 5 and then plus is last. We plus it to 32 after multiplying to 9 over 5. So that's 38.7 times 9 divided by 5. The result will be added to 32. And please check in your calculator. You should get 101.7 degrees Fahrenheit. So since it is higher than the normal of 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, so therefore we can conclude that indeed the child has a fever. And the second question, what is the child's temperature in kelvins? That means we just begin with the Celsius because this is the child's temperature, and then we add 273, or sometimes if you want to be exact, you can add 0.15 to it. Either of that, that's correct. So 38.7 plus 273.15, you get 311.8 Kelvin. So these two are the answers for this particular problem. The next problem is about the thermometer that displays both the Celsius and Fahrenheit temperature units. If the mercury of the thermometer displays 56 degrees Fahrenheit, what are the equivalent values of this temperature value in Celsius and Kelvin units? What I want you to do is please convert your 56 degrees Fahrenheit using your calculator to Celsius and Kelvin unit using this temperature formula, and leave as your comments your two answers for this particular problem. Let's check if you're able to practice this and if ever you got this right. So bye for now. Thank you so much for paying attention. Bye.